Welcome to Menopause Madness, hot off the presses. I watched something today that I've been eager to share with you all because it was a big, mind blowing experience. And also, I'm both excited and a little aggravated about the situation, but more on the excited end of things. So, let me share the story and then I'll fill in the details. I was at my mom's this morning helping her out. I work with her a couple days a week as her aide. And she uh, encouraged me to watch this news episode that she had from, I don't know, CBS. I can't tell you. Um, and it was a woman named Gail, who I'm sure is famous, but I'm not up with the famous people names, interviewing a doctor by the name of Dr. Mary Claire Haver, as well as Drew Barrymore was there. That one I know. I'm a fan of hers. Um, so the topic was menopause, obviously, but what I ended up finding out, I'll start with the good stuff. This woman, doctor, and also, Drew Barrymore are both um, educating the public on perimenopause and menopause symptoms because they are recognizing that there's a need for that in women's health. That so much of the time our menopause is just shuffled under the rug as no big deal. And so she's Dr. Haver has written a book. She's written two books, I found out, maybe more, um, that she was promoting on this interview. The name of the book is The New Menopause. And I'm not sure if I think it comes out in May, so pretty soon. Um, and she was getting into why she wrote the book and then some of the things that are in the book. I obviously haven't bought the book yet. And this is not about me promoting her book. I'm not sure whether I'll like it or not. But what was exciting was that she recognized she was noticing some changes in her own body. And oh my goodness, wow, this is menopause. And it just kind of struck her as, wow, this is happening. And she had no clue until she'd been about 6 months without a period and she was noticing joint pains and some other stuff. She didn't put it all together until, when was the last time I had my period? Oh, yeah, it's been like 6 months ago. So she starts doing some research and finds out that all of these different symptoms are tied to menopause that had yet to be put together. One of those, some of them, the common ones we've heard of, like hot flashes, night sweats, that kind of thing. And I didn't catch all of the ones that she said on the interview, but um, one of the ones that she said that really was profound for me was frozen shoulder. Drop the mic. Are you serious? Like, I had that twice in the last 10 years. And they also addressed that for some women, the changes can take place over like a decade. Yes. For some women, it can be very swift. There's even some women that get zero symptoms. And another friend of mine shared, um, she sells essential oils and she was helping me out with some of that, which it did help. Um, she shared that even some studies around blood type affects how severe your symptoms are going to be. And apparently type O is one of the ones that struggles more with menopause, which ties with gut issues. And they've also discovered that is more of a problem for type O. Um, and that's a whole nother podcast of how the gut and the hormones play together. But what what was exciting to me about the idea of her sharing about the frozen shoulder was that nobody has ever been able to say there was this is what causes it. And when it happened to me the first time, I was, went to the doctor like we do, got the same old answer, which has been my experience more often than not. Well, it's such and such. We don't know what causes it. AKA, I don't know. They give it some fancy name like idiopathic um, source. I forget the proper term. Um, and so I did some research on my own and realized that the only connection they had found between frozen shoulder and any other thing was blood sugar. Okay, yep, that tracks. I didn't have diabetes, been tested for it lots of times. Um, but I was having a lot of blood sugar control issues, like feeling real shaky, having a hard time keeping a steady blood sugar. I went and got tested for thyroid stuff. No, your thyroid's fine, but they would only check half of the numbers, which is a whole nother story also. Um, so years of that went on. And when I kept getting kicked aside from the doctors with, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, I decided to pursue my own alternative treatment and did all kinds of research on things that could help with thyroid because I was convinced that that's what it was. And um, I put myself on an anti inflammatory diet. Think like Mediterranean diet minus dairy and grains. And this was not an easy process. I was definitely not a fan of making all those changes, but I was also not loving how my body was feeling and I wasn't getting any answers from anybody else. So, like, this is what's going to happen. That went on for quite a while. And then I ended up, um, well, a lot of stuff happened in that there's multiple factors involved as there always is, but I ended up with colon cancer and it has been shared with me and I have learned some things since that diagnosis, which was very last day of 2019. All better, loving it. Um, that it's more common in women during that change of life. Again, relates to the gut and the hormones. So I was excited to finally start connecting some dots. And as far as the frozen shoulder, I'm not sure what would have done differently except for supported my body in some kind of way with some type of herbs or something to help manage the blood sugar better. Berberine comes to mind had I thought of that back then. Um, but I didn't. So here I am sharing it with you because it may be helpful, not necessarily telling you to run out and get berberine, but do your research, go with your gut. Um, the thing that was shocking and also not at the same time because of prior experience with this type of information that the doctor shared, um, and also aggravating, yeah, that's a good word for it, um, is that apparently in medical school, so this woman got through medical school. They get 1 hour of training on menopause. Now I get that they're covering a lot of topics during that time, but 1 hour? And she said basically it was your period ends, no more babies. End of story. You might get some hot flashes. Okay, not okay. Not okay that that's all the more they've done as far as research for something that's a huge part of a woman's life. And every woman on the planet's going to go through it unless she dies before then. Um, so the other part of that is this particular doctor is also an OB. And so, of course, she went to further medical school for that. And you're thinking, all right, she went to 4 years of school that's specifically about women's fertility. Surely they're going to cover that topic at more length. In 4 years, 6 hours. And this is a specialty that's specific to that part of the body in women. 6 hours. You think about that, that's, maybe 1 hour each semester or something close to that. Um, wow, that's kind of crazy. So it just further encourages me to share these things and encourage other people to share these things so that we can be educated because they're learning more and more and more about things that you can do. And this other book that she wrote is, let me see if I wrote it down or not. Nope. This other book that she wrote, oh, there it is about a diet that she created that's referred to as the Galveston diet. The Galveston's diet, from a quick preview, and that's all it was. I spent just a couple minutes reading about it. Um, Sounds very much like the Mediterranean diet, except for she gets more into how specific healthy oils are needed in that circumstance. Um, Hello, that's mostly what I was doing during that time, and it did help. Um, the other component that she doesn't get into that I'll share more on in another podcast is the emotional component and how trapped emotions can um, interfere with the flow of energy. But that's again a topic for another time. So, highlights of this reel: popular media people and even doctors are starting to take notice of this area of health. Finally, frozen shoulder is one of the symptoms that's now associated with menopausal changes or perimenopause changes. Specific diets are particularly helpful according to this doctor, and she talks about lots of success stories with these um, women that she used this diet with, has been found to be helpful. So those are the three main points I want you to take home. And recognizing you have options and it's up to you to explore them, because your doctor, unless you end up with a doctor like this woman, isn't going to know, because they got 1 hour of training and basically you know more than they do. And I personally feel that when we go to the doctor, a person that we've hired to do a job for us, that it's up to us to let them know we are the expert on our body. They might be the expert on how all the parts and pieces work together, but we are the expert on our body. We've lived in it our whole lives. Take your power back, ladies. Don't settle for, well, you're fine. It's okay. It's no problem. I keep reading stories like that about women and anxiety being. That's another quote that I read today. Another statistic, rather, from a company called Better Body. They put out a supplement, an herbal supplement that helps with menopause symptoms. Also, not promoting that one either. I had an experience with it. It was not for me. Um, but having said that, everybody's different. Go with your gut. Um, and that for me, I think relates to, you can have, and this is another podcast, estrogen dominance and menopause at the same time. But the quote that, or the statistic that I was going to get back to, is as much as 50% of women that are dealing with menopause symptoms have anxiety related to that. That's one of the common symptoms. And the doctors are treating it like you need some type of antidepressant or whatever. But that shit doesn't work for that circumstance because your hormones are out of whack, and that's not addressing your hormonal situation. It's that's addressing a brain situation. So, lots to take home from this podcast. I hope you found it useful. I know I did. Please share, tell your friends, tell your girlfriends, tell the guys, because the better off we are, the better off they are. Everybody knows that's true. Not only because as a human race, what affects one of us affects the rest of us. You know, half the population is being impacted by this, and I can guarantee that there's some unhappy dudes out there dealing with a menopausal woman. Guarantee it. Put in the comments if you're in one of those relationships. Please just share that there are options and be your best advocate. Take your power back. Make it a great day.